Absolutely. I was on a Zoom call tonight with all of the other reporters. And then every year, December, we meet for affiliate meetings.
It's 7, we're gonna start.
And we meet with our lobbyists. Yes, we have lobbyists because we're working with legislators to improve our statutes and our laws. And to go against bad ones. As far as the presidential election or as far as legislation, you know, I'm gonna let you watch the video. Let you look at the processes, then I'll let you ask some questions afterwards. I think that'll be a little bit eye-opening for you. And we'll see from there.
Okay, we'll get started. First of all, thank you for coming. My name is Kevin O'Reilly. I'm treasurer of the Santan Valley Advisory Council. We are a nonpartisan organization, nonprofit. We are funded by the county to function as an advisory council to the county, representing the people of this unincorporated area of Santan Valley, and taking what the county is trying to do and present that to the people of Santan Valley. One of the ways that we do that are presentations like this. We've done multiple ones, everything from the half-cent road tax to the incorporation effort. And tonight we're very blessed to have Dana Lewis, who is the Pinal County Recorder and Elections Director. But I have a few administrative things before we go. First of all, the fire exits. 2 doors there, a door over there, and a door here. People think when there's a fire, go out the door you came in, but that's not always possible, since you know where they are. Secondly, the restrooms. Go out the glass doors here, just walk right down along this wall, and they're right behind us here on the left. Lastly, I just want to introduce our board members. We have Steve Calandros, he is the chair, Mark Linda, who is our vice chair, and Andy Haas, who is our secretary. And that's it. So with that, I'll turn it over to Dana. Thank you.
Hi. Thank you for coming out this evening. We're going to start tonight's presentation with a short video, and then I'll give you some information about the upcoming general election, and then we'll do a robust Q&A. Roll that fabulous feed footage. Today, Pinal County welcomed the Arizona Secretary of State, Adrian Fontes, on a tour.
As we showed up and looked at the exterior of the building, I thought it was beautiful. And it shows the kind of respect that this sort of activity deserves.
About 18 months ago, we were here with Secretary Fontes. He had come to tour Pinal County as the new Secretary of State. We were talking about the problems from historical elections, ways that we could fix said problems, and one of them was building this facility. And we were able to show him where we had just recently broken dirt.
We were right outside. It was just gray dirt. We were looking at the plans, and now this. It's amazing.
And so now to actually bring him back and him be able to tour the facility is quite an accomplishment. Welcome, Secretary Fontes, to the Pinal County Voter Operations Technology and Election Services Facility. This wing is the voter registration wing. That wing is the elections wing. We have voter registration, early voting, and of course the admin room. A voter can come in here and choose to vote early in person. They would walk up to the desk here. They would receive their ballot, and then they could go vote in the early voting room. The viewing room, or the fishbowl as we call it, has always been a point of interest.
The fishbowl really embodies what this entire activity is about. Opens to the casual citizen, to anybody who wants to come and see the entire process. I've always been a big advocate of transparency in these processes. The way that Pinal County designed the fishbowl and all the election activities that happen around the observer is really a testament to their dedication here in Florence to that kind of transparency. So I think they hit it out of the park with that.
Not only do we have the ability to view when our ballots are coming in from the post, or our ballot drop boxes, but also the signature verification and receiving process. When we transfer ballots to the elections department, we create that anonymity between a ballot and its affidavit, and then when those ballots then go to tabulation. So we have the voter registration team, then we have early voting, and then we have voter outreach. This is our Access Voter Information Database room. We call it the Avid room. This is where we do all of our testing. This is where we train all of our staff in the Avid system.
This is great. I love this.
Okay, onward. We've been physically in the space now for about 30 days. It's really great to watch the morale improve. Historically, we were working out of a very small space. Our departments and divisions were divided, and so bringing them together under the same roof for not only security of the ballot, but also the cross-training of staff has already started. We are going to talk about the early voting process right now. This is where we bring in our early ballots. So whether it's from any of the 17 early ballot drop box locations or from the United States Postal Service, we go out with bipartisan couriers to go retrieve the ballots. They're brought in here through the bay doors. We're able to drive right up here. And then they use these really interesting boxes that you're going to see in a second. We also do some of our outbound mail processing out of here, not ballots, but like voter ID cards, other election mail, that comes out of here. And these are Bessie and Bertha, our stuffers, because paper cuts suck. So we've got machines that do that now. So once they get their ballot drop box and ballots, they're going to come this way with them. We use a ballot transfer box. We use bipartisan couriers. We need resources to pull off elections. And luckily, we've had a lot of support. We went and we upgraded our boxes.
Yeah.
They hold more ballots, which is really awesome, especially during presidential election year. We create a geofence not only around this building, but also around all of our ballot drop box locations and also around the county. So as we move with the GPS locks, it's tracking it. Any 5 feet of movement, we get a ping on it, and we get the pings every 5 seconds.
Does the GPS, the lock and the unlock? That's what I thought. Because I think that's the same technology you looked at. And then so that it knows that it got locked on site and then it got unlocked here.
That's correct. When we deploy out the couriers and the bipartisan team, they're going to have a box for every one of the drop boxes. So there isn't a lock in and unlock out in the field. That doesn't happen. It's this one goes to Santan Valley Public Health. They get it, they lock it, they bring it back. So you're now in the signature verification area. This is after the ballots come in from our bipartisan courier team, and they're put in mail trays and on racks. They're brought into this area. I'm going to get technical on you with my very fancy language. They go to slice and dice. This is where we slice the top of the carrier envelope. Then they go to what they're doing right now. We shut the carrier envelope away from the affidavit envelope. They then make sure that there is no remaining type of instruction sheets or maybe a loose ballot. They're putting it on the holes to make sure that there's nothing in there. Then they're going to go to the receiving process in these 3 spaces here. Again, bipartisan. The people who do receiving don't do signature verification. The people who do reconciliation on the ends. Once that happens, they now go, folks, to signature verification. And they're able to see that entire flow of that early ballot in real time. And you can even watch it from your couch if you'd like, because that process is live streamed on the Canal Votes website. Our card system for certain areas keeps 2 cards, and it has to be in bipartisan to get into the area. I think the most transparent ways that you can run a closed gateway network is through a trace system. So what you see above you is the server wires that go to the server over there. Nothing in here is on the internet. You're able to watch 360 degrees of our process. Every part of this process can be viewed by anybody in the fishbowl. Plus, these are all currently live streamed while we're in the election. We have on our website, you can sign up for Tuesday tours, so we know you're coming, and then we can walk you through a lot of the processes. But there's always somebody from our team that's able to answer these questions. So we are about to enter the warehouse. We have 4 bay doors, 2 man doors. We have a warehouse operations manager.
You know, it's the old tradition. One of the old hotel magnates used to leave New York City without telling anybody where he was going. He would fly to a random town that he had a hotel in, and he would have a cab driver drop him off at the warehouse door. He'd go into the back of the hotel where they were receiving things, and he could tell how clean and orderly the rest of the hotel was by looking at the warehouse. This warehouse tells me that Pinal County's got it together. It is well organized. It flows the traffic of equipment and ballots and people very well. And that's what you want with these kinds of logistical spaces.
These are new security cages. We also brought on the GPS locks for our election day equipment. If we already have the GPS locks on our ballot transfer boxes, it just made sense to create geofencing not only around the facility, but around all of our polling locations. So when we drop off our election day equipment, the units are locked, it has our ballots in there, it has our boxes. So again, we know when they move 5 feet, and we also know every time they're locked and unlocked. And right there, if I go to the system, it'll show me that it was unlocked.
And you walk in there?
Yeah, we go through here with the small one, and it goes through here, and then it comes up and around.
I really like this. It's clear to me that this facility was designed by the people who are actually going to work here and who are familiar with the way elections work.
We also brought that architects and engineers through our current spaces, our old spaces, to explain to them why it didn't work, why we had bottlenecks.
There's a little flow to the data and information, even if that information is a ballot envelope, where it goes, from the moment that it drives into the warehouse facility space to where it gets unloaded, to where it gets screened, and through the process, it's all the way through. It's a very sort of organic movement into the space where the ballots ultimately reside in that vault. And so, to me, this just tells me that the entire leadership team, the recorder, the elections folks, and the board of supervisors came together with the professionals they hired and did this in such a quick and effective manner. I mean, this place ought to really be looked at as setting the national standard, because it's a really, really great facility for this purpose.
Yes. Let everybody's eyes. Can you hear me? No.
Take this one.
Alrighty. I'll swap in. There we go. So that is a holistic overview of the Pinal Votes complex. Gives you an overview of what it looks like. Again, anybody is welcome to come anytime and go through it. Typically, right now, we'll have somebody on staff if you're not able to sign up for a Tuesday tour, and we can go through some of the processes with you. Once we go, early voting starts October 9th, so we'll have a massive amount of ballots starting about October 14th. So anybody who wants to watch the flow of the process real time, that's when I would encourage people to stop by and see us. I want to talk to you about some key dates going into the general election, because you as community members in Santan Valley are also our biggest advocates of our processes. So the last day to register to vote in Pinal County, or excuse me, in the state of Arizona, is October 7th. Early voting begins on October 9th. So how that looks is, not only do our ballots get mailed October 9th, you're also able to go to any of the 5 satellite offices, one being the votes facility, Casa Grande, Santan Valley, Apache Junction, and Maricopa offices to go vote early in person. We have 17 different locations for ballot drop boxes, whether they be inside one of those satellite offices or outside the curb. I put all of those locations on a flyer in the back of the room, along with a lot of these key dates. The last day to request an early ballot to be mailed to you is October 25th. We request very obnoxiously over and over again during the season to make sure you get your ballot back to me for October 29th.
Oh.
Sorry,
He did it.
Tell me when. You're there. November 1st is the last day that you're able to vote early in person. And of course, election day is November 5th. Between November 1st and November 5th, we have something called emergency voting. So in the event you were not signed up to receive an early ballot or didn't go vote early in person, and you just found out that you're not going to be present in the state of Arizona or in the county to be able to vote on election day, you have the ability to reach out to the elections department and the recorder, and we can ensure that you vote an emergency ballot. So you just need to reach out to the Pinal Votes website, and we'll make sure that that happens. Some of the other interesting things going on in our world other than elections, we don't maintain voter registration rolls annually. I don't do it quarterly. I don't do it monthly. Our people do it daily. We're required by statute to make sure that we send NBRA notices, that we follow VRAC papers, and that we follow the Help America Vote Act to ensure that people are registered to vote. Now in the state of Arizona, you must provide documented proof of citizenship. We're making sure that that's on file and that you are being alerted in the event you change anything in your voter registration. How does that look? Recently, due to changes in legislation, we not only have a text or opt-in service, you also have the ability to go to my.arizona.vote, check your voter registration. But in the event we received a voter registration form or any type of prompt to update your voter information, we're now required to send you a notice. So if it is a change that will require a new voter ID card, we're going to send you the voter ID card. But if it was simple, like changing your phone number, we will send you a notice. This way, if it wasn't you, you're going to know somebody was in your voter registration record. If somebody was in my voter record, I would want to know. So we're going to let you know now. I talk fast. I give lots of information. One of the biggest things that I can ask of voters going into the presidential election is to have a plan to vote. I don't mind if you vote early in person. I think it's a fabulous way to vote. It's the same day as election day voting, but you get that 27 days before. So you've been able to do your research, you know who your vetted candidates are, you understand your propositions, and understand what's going on locally. So you're able to vote that in-person early voting at any of the 5 locations. Plus you're dealing with certified election officials who are working through those processes. Maybe you want to vote at home on your lazy boy. I like that too. Just please make sure you sign your affidavit, you give me a phone number, because in the event you had a life-changing event and your signature has changed, we're going to do our best to make sure we can cure that signature. And so we're going to use your phone number to first reach out to you and find out what's going on with your signature. Or maybe you're old-fashioned, or maybe you're trying to bring a new tradition on and you want to check out the new experience it is to vote in person in Pinal County. Our trainers have been fantastic. We've enhanced our poll worker training, and we want that experience at the polls to be optimistic, pleasant, and joyful again. We want people to want to dress up in their patriotic vest and get out there and vote at the polls. So you're going to notice that there's going to be a lot more positivity out of the polls. So maybe that's what you want to do. We don't care any which way you do it. We just want you to do it. We want you to definitely administer your constitutional right to vote in America. And we think in Pinal County, we do it the best. Maybe I'm a little bit biased. So make a plan. Please know that no matter which way you vote, that we're going to ensure not only the security of your ballot, because we believe in free, fair, accurate, legal elections, but also we're going to keep voters safe and we're going to keep poll workers safe. I can't tell you the plan, but I'm going to let you know I got a plan, because the last thing I want to do is show you my cards. If you have any questions about partisanship or what you can do to be part of the process, because if you're part of the process, you're part of the progress, and you're not part of the problem. Sign up to be a political observer with your party chairs. Sign up to electioneer outside of the 75-foot zone, or even be a poll worker or an election cycle temp. We're constantly recruiting. There are, of course, places that you will see in the event of any type of behavior or anything. Please know that we reach out to our law enforcement communities, our fire departments, and even, excuse me, our EMTs. They all know where we're going to be, when we're going to be there, and what's going on. Because in the event of a natural disaster or an emergency situation, they know where to find us and they know how to communicate with us. And of course, to administer a general presidential election, we didn't start doing this like 2 months ago. We started this planning over a year ago. So when we had the opportunity to move into the new facility prior to the primary and really get our feet wet, we jumped on it. Some people said, you know, that was pretty aggressive for us to do a fast track build of such a monumental facility. The voters of Pinal County deserved it. After the 2022 and what happened there and the confusion in a lot of our elections across the state, I think voters deserve the best. And what the county management and the board of supervisors were able to provide to the voters is nothing short of a miracle. And then absolutely to bring amazing teams together and support us as election officials, it's been quite awesome. You have, coming into this next ballot, you have the Proposition 486, I believe you guys recently had a town hall about that. You're gonna start getting some mail. So you're gonna get mail like this. This is the publicity pamphlet for that. You're also gonna get a voter information guide to your home. And depending on if you have anybody who is not signed up for early voting and receiving a ballot in the mail, then you'll also receive a sample ballot. If for some reason you don't receive the sample ballot, we also post them online and we can let you know what your sample ballot style is. And always, I have on the handout back there, 520-509-3555. That's the Citizen Contact Center. If you have any questions about our processes or how fast I talk, you can always reach out and they'll make sure they get you some really great answers.
And they speak slower.
They do. I can't help it. I was born and raised in Jersey. It's just part of the DNA. I'm sure it's something to do with the water. Who's got questions?
We have a microphone, but I have to turn this one on, and which cuts hers off. So who's got questions?
I can project if you guys can hear it.
No, I'll just switch it off.
Okay.
I have two questions. The first one, what's the last day that you will receive votes?
What's the last day that I will receive votes?
People voting, yeah, what's the last people can vote?
The election day, November 5th. So how that looks is you've got early voting up until the Friday before the election.
Excuse me, go ahead and use the microphone. This is.
It's not working. Okay, so his question is, when was the last day I can receive?
Early voting after the 5th of November.
So this is a process. So how does it look? You've got early voting, and all through that process, our people are processing, doing the signature verification, the reconciliations, then they're sending it to the early board where we create the anonymity of the ballot, where we remove the ballot away from the affidavit before it goes to tabulation. That is all happening 27 days prior to the election. Then we go into emergency voting, where we talked about that briefly, but then you have election day. And election day, sometimes things happen where people have to cast provisional ballots. Maybe they weren't registered to vote. In Pinal County, we are precinct-based voting. Sometimes people don't understand that and they go to the wrong polling location and then they won't go to the right polling location. So they'll sometimes vote a provisional ballot, which won't count. Or sometimes they came here from another county and they never updated their voter registration. So they'll vote a provisional ballot so we can update their voter registration. So you've got early voting, you've got election day voting buckets, and then you have provisional ballot voting. But on election day, we have this thing that happens where people drop off their early ballots at the voting locations. And I know for the 2022 general election, we had about 20,000 of those. So I then have to bring them in. I have to do signature verification. We have to, again, create that anonymity of the ballot, and then we have to tabulate it. So even though election day is November 5th, you're going to watch our people continue to tabulate for several days after, because I have to process provisional ballots and then I have to process the late earlies. Yeah, it's a lot. So when I say the last day to vote early in person is November 1st, I highly encourage voters to please get their ballot to a drop box November 1st, because then we can get that processed ahead of time.
The reason I'm asking that question is the second part of my question is, how long does it take before you finally have results, and meaningful results?
So,
Not 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you know what I'm saying?
so by law, I'm required to have canvassed or certified the election to the Board of Supervisors by the 21st of November. Our canvass date in Pinal is November 20th. It's a regularly scheduled board meeting. How does that work? So no matter what, the results are never official until they've been canvassed. So that's one thing to note. But 8 o'clock on election night, or around 8 o'clock, we are going to drop the first set of results. And those results are all of the early ballots that were tabulated during those 27 days. Then, as the ballots start coming in from the polls, because we're central count, we don't tabulate out at the polls, we tabulate at central count. As those early ballots are coming in from the precincts, we're tabulating as they come in. Okay, but then again, you got to process provisionals, and then you got to process those early ballots. That could take several days after the election. It can. More great questions. That was a great question. Yes, ma'am.
Those 99,000 people whose votes were messed up, or how many of those were in Canal County?
So her question is the 99,000 people that were recently in the news, and it wasn't so much about their votes, it was about the way that they voted. So there's a thing called DPOC, Documented Proof of Citizenship. And there was a glitch in the system with MVD systems in regards to people who had duplicated registrants after a certain time period. Out of the 98,000, Pinal County had 8,777 that we've identified. The Secretary of State's office is trying to do the heavy lift right now and using vital records research to make sure that they can find that documented proof of citizenship for those previous. Then once they've accomplished that, then they're going to give us a whittled down list, and we're going to start with that process. But after the Supreme Court ruling, no matter what, if you've always voted a full ballot, you're going to continue to do so for this general election. They don't want to disenfranchise any voters, and then we're going to work backwards. Okay? So you're good. If you're not sure, if somebody's not sure, if you're between the ages of 45 and 70 years old, and you're not sure if you ever proved documented proof of citizenship, and you would rather just be safe or sorry, stop by with your birth certificate, your naturalization paperwork at any of the recorder's offices. We're going to make a copy, we're going to update your voter record, and you're going to be good to go. I would rather you not be in a place of stress or concern and go that way. I don't have the list. They haven't released it yet, so I can't even tell you if you're one of the people, unfortunately.
Oh, I'm not.
Okay, good.
I know.
And if you have a travel ID, you're good, because you had to get the travel ID. Okay? Questions? More questions?
Yes.
Yes.
You mentioned the 5 recorder offices in the county. Can you tell us where they're located?
Sure, that handout back there has them. But of course, we have them in, pull that list. So the Florence Votes Building, which is the 320 West Adamsville Road. Casa Grande Recorder's office is at 820 East Cottonwood. It's Suite A. It's the county complex there, which has the Board of Supervisors, has the Justice Court, and the constable are all in that little area there. The Santan Valley Recorder's office is right over here, like right over there from CAC, Dr. Schnepp and Bella Vista. The Apache Junction Recorder's office is off of North Idaho in that county complex again, right over where the food bank is. And the Maricopa Recorder's office is at 19955 North Wilson, and that's over by where the post office used to be in Maricopa City. Not Maricopa County, Maricopa City. So we've got 5 of them, and each one of them has a drop box inside and outside. Plus, we also have drop boxes at the Arizona City County Sheriff's Substation, Eloy County Public Health, the Lawrence Recorder's Office in Building E, where voter registration used to be, the building in Coolidge, where the Elections Department used to be, Oracle Justice Court, and Santan Valley Public Health for all of them.
Thank you.
For Kansas. Yes, sir.
So if you're overseas or in the military, you mail in a ballot, it's postmarked by election day, when does it have to be received and counted?
Still by 7 p.m. on election night.
Okay.
Here's the difference with a UOCAVA voter. It's the Uniform Overseas Citizens Absentee Voting Act. We're required because whether you're in space or you're at the bottom of an ocean, if you're defending this country, I should be jumping through hoops to make sure you get your ballot. So they gave us a little bit more time to do that. That deadline was actually this past Saturday, September 21st. So our teams were working with the individuals to make sure we had the email addresses and all of the information we need to get them their ballots. You Akamba voters have the ability to go through a secured portal to receive their ballots online, and then we process them via the same portal, unless they want to receive a hard ballot, and then we'll mail them one. So they receive them, but they have the ability to get them back to us until 7 p.m. on election night. And they also have the ability to do an FWAB, it's the federal write-in absentee ballot as well. So we'll do anything for those. And you don't even have to be a military member, you could be a dependent, you could be a reporter talking about, what's going on overseas. So if you're an American citizen, I'm gonna get you a ballot wherever you're at. Questions? Yeah?
So the mail-in ballots, they have to be in also.
All ballots,
All ballots.
all ballots have to be in by 7 p.m. on election night. And here's the other thing, they have to be in per statute into the county recorder where the ballot is to be cast. So if you live in Maricopa and I get one of your ballots, if it's during early voting, I'm gonna make sure that we get those ballots to Maricopa during early voting. But if people drop off those early ballots for Maricopa in one of my drop boxes, the ability to get there is definitely decreased.
So as they come in, you keep a count?
We're required by statute now, SB 2785. Yeah.
So at least on election night, you're gonna know everybody who voted, you can have a number on it.
Well, we'll already have dropped all of the early ballots that have been processed through that weekend before election day. So that 8 o'clock first dump, we call it, of ballots, that's all of those early ballots. Then we're gonna do all of the processing for election day ballots. So we're gonna go until 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. We'll work 20 some hours straight. And then we will be required to post that night, not only our slog reports, which is required to show that we did never aggregate our results prior to election night. Because we take them from the tabulators, then they go to a client server and then a server. From the server, they go to a gateway, we upload our election night reports, and then the slog reports that shows we never put all of the tabulation information together for results. We've never touched it. So it's a reassurance to voters to know that we're not in there doing tomfoolery. So we bring that up, and then we're also required to post per precinct how many provisional ballots were cast, so you know that that's how many we still have to process. And then at each one of the voting locations, how many late early ballots were dropped off. And I'm gonna be crass with you folks. Here's my take. If you can get your happy hiney to the polls on election day, it shouldn't be to drop off an early ballot. It really should be to cast a ballot in person. Because that ballot that you drop off at the polls on election day still has to, like I said, come in. It still has to go through the receiving process, the signature verification, the early ballot anonymity process, and then tabulation. And that's going to take a couple of days. So that's what holds up results. And then if they, for heaven forbids, have to be duplicated, or if there's write-ins and all of that stuff, that's another hands on those processes. And those people who think it's cute to write in Mickey Mouse and Ronald Reagan that are not official write-in candidates, that actually delays the tabulation of each ballot by several minutes, because those automatically get stacked out. And so we have to visibly look at them to make sure we can prove voter intent. And in the event we know that it's not an official write-in, then we can push it back through. But we still have to, document all of that. So every time somebody does that, it actually upholds and delays the process. Yes, ma'am.
What makes those outside drop boxes safe? How do we know they're safe?
I'm going to tell you about how safe they are. Her question is, how are those outside drop boxes safe? Pinal County does it a little bit different. All of our drop boxes are located on county property. They are affixed. And several years ago, when we came on as the compliance officer and I was working with Virginia, we decided to put them all on recorded surveillance. So a couple of years ago, there was this push to observe drop boxes. And my concern is, You've got a beautiful 20-something-year-old girl who's working, nights and going to school during the day, and she knows that she's getting close to the deadline to drop off her early ballot, and she shows up at 11 o'clock to drop off her early ballot, and a bunch of guys showing up and popping out of the bushes to be like, haha, got you. We don't need that. Pinal County doesn't need that nonsense. We're better than that. And so the people are like, well, we know that they're trying to harvest ballots. And I'm like, no, I don't know that they are. And again, there is a deterrent when you show that you're on recorded surveillance. Don't do that. But then the first thing we did was allow people to sit at the sheriff's substation right here and watch that wasn't happening here. Now, this was also the first time we had allowed that to happen was during the primary election where there was problems with those ballots because we had inadvertently left some ballots, some races off the ballots the elections department had. And so you had two ballots now. You had your regular ballot and then you had a municipal ballot. So the normal family household has 3 adults in it right now. And so you've got a husband, wife, you either have an aging parent or you have, a young adult living with you. So that's 3 ballots and it's absolutely okay. And you might be a caretaker for someone, so you might have 4 ballots. Well, now you've got 2 ballots per person. So you've got 8 ballots. So people were coming up to the drop boxes and they're, throwing in 8 ballots. And all of a sudden everybody's up in arms and like, oh my gosh, they had 8 ballots. And having to walk people through that process. The other thing is one of our drop boxes is extremely close to the library box drop box. And so the angle of the camera that you can view looks like you're just plunking them in like crazy. They're like, no, they were very advantageous use of gas. You're gonna go, you're gonna drop off your ballot, you're gonna drop off your library box. You're being a good steward of, the economy and the environment. I think that's fabulous, but it looks funny, so we had to change the angle of one of those cameras. So if you wanna ask me if I feel that drop boxes are safe in Pinal County, I'm going to tell you hands down, absolutely. Again, we use bipartisan warriors with those fancy little black boxes that have GPS blocks on them. So from the moment that they come here with a bipartisan team, they open that box, they pull those ballots in there, they close that box, they put that GPS lock on it, and then it now goes to early voting for that whole process of signature verification. That box is locked that entire time so that nobody can insert anything into it to reassure you guys that we take this seriously. So if you ask me if I trust our drop boxes, I will tell you hands down. You're welcome. Yes, sir.
I had a question about how it works when you're registered to vote in another state, you move here, you register here. Does it get automatically reported back to the other state that you're no longer going to be registered there, or do you?
I didn't prompt him. I promise. I did not prompt him prior to this, but man, he has all the right questions. No, if you moved here recently, we don't have those laws where automatically we're going to kick you off the voter registration rolls in another state. So when you come here and you update and you get your new driver's license, yes, it's going to say that you're going to sign up and you're registering to vote and we're going to get that great signature of yours. However, but you need to be responsible and take yourself off of the voter rolls where you're leaving from, especially if you're receiving an early ballot by mail. If you have no absent or no reason or absentee voting in that past state, take yourself off. A ballot packet, an early ballot packet, includes here in Pinal County, you're going to have a tablecloth, which has all of the full language for your props. You're going to have a wrap, which is the instructions on how to complete your ballot and where to return it, and your great little I voted sticker. It's going to have a returns carrier envelope and an affidavit envelope. And then your ballot. It's going to have all of those things. Each one of those things has a monetary value for taxpayers. Several dollars. Plus it's $1 something to mail it to you, and it's $1 something to mail it back. That's the reason I'm a big fan of the ballot drop boxes, because I save you money. So again, another advocacy for the drop boxes. So I would definitely say advocate. Make sure you call where you're leaving, especially if you were signed up to receive an early ballot, because if they don't know, they might still send you that ballot, and we don't want that to happen. Now, hopefully, somebody at that house is going to say this person no longer lives here. They're going to send it back, and we're going to start the NVRA process. But still, you just cost the taxpayers of that community that much money. So definitely advocate, be responsible with, your ballots and your voter registration. When we do signature verification to prove identity, I want to give you some key things. House SB 2785 required that guidance or practices previously in the EPM should be put into statute. There's a 12-point process for us to confirm signatures for identity. We take your wet signature on your affidavit and we compare it against most signatures in your registered record. So whether that be a voter registration form, whether that be a 90-day notice, or other mail that we have that has your information on it that can act as a registrant, like an active early voting request or dump list, we're going to use those wet signatures. Why? Because wet signatures are the best. The ones that we get from MVD, not so great. So we're going to use that to compare on the signature on your affidavit. In the event it doesn't match, we're going to do the cure process. We're going to call you. We're going to ask you how you submitted your early ballot, when you submitted it, was it a Dropbox, was it mail? We're going to ask you all these questions, and then we're going to get you to cure that ballot. But every signature is unique, and you have 3 stages of a signature in your life. You have your juvenile signature. When you're first learning to write a signature, we knew what was a payroll signature, right? Young people, anything that's like 27 and younger, they don't write in cursive as much that we do. We know that your first letter, usually of a name, I'm Dana, has a character to it. It has a personality. So may your first letter of your last name. The spacing you put between D and ANA on Dana is significant with each one of your signatures. The amount of space between your cursive writing and ANA is definite. You can tell how much space that you put between Dana and Lewis. I can tell you the entry of my signature, and I can tell you the egress of the signature. I can tell you by the way somebody swoops their T's or how they dot their I's. If they're an overhand writer or if they're an underhand writer, if it looks like they're a chopper, if it looks like they're a lefty, if they just do those funny little doctor signatures. Even those doctor signatures, or just little actually has personality to it. There are 12 points to a signature, and we match those as required by statute when we're verifying your signatures. Pinal County does not use a vendor to do it. We do not have them scan it and send it electronically. We actually have hands on your affidavit from the moment it comes in to the moment it goes to tabulation. And when we create the anonymous data of your ballot, where we get your affidavit and then we compare it to the ballot that you have in your envelope, that's because, this is gonna sound odd, but Dana is probably supposed to get a ballot style that's a 22G something. We're gonna make sure that in her affidavit envelope, she's got a 22G style something ballot, right? Because that's what she's gonna have, that's what's supposed to be there. It's strange, but sometimes Republicans and Democrats get married. It does. Sometimes husbands and wives sign each other's affidavits, and that creates a reject process. Sometimes people sit together at community meetings like this, and they talk about what they're voting for. And sometimes your precinct and your precinct and your precinct splits are different, and you accidentally swap ballots and don't realize it. When that happens, if we reject it, we get in touch with you and make sure that we create the chain of custody again and send you a new ballot. But we remove that affidavit away from the actual ballot so that when you're tabulating your ballot is anonymous and it is not attached to you as a voter. Those affidavits then go into retention for a federal election for 20 months. Yes, ma'am.
In-person voting
Yes, ma'am.
starts on a Friday. What happens on the 1st is a Friday? So Saturday, Sunday, are you guys open or are those off days?
In-person early voting starts on October 9th.
Oh, in person?
In-person early voting is on October 9th.
Thank you.
I think that's a Wednesday.
Yes, it is.
It is, yeah, so in-person early voting is on that Wednesday. The last day to register to vote is the Monday before. So yes, you can go to any of our locations. Election day in Arizona is always on a Tuesday. Okay, did I answer your question?
Thank you.
Did you have one back there? No? No? Yes, sir.
So if I go to the county registrar's office here in San Valley after October 9th, I can vote in person?
Absolutely.
I didn't know that.
Yes, you're gonna get an early ballot and you're gonna vote it in person, and we're also gonna put in an affidavit, and it's gonna go through that entire process. Pinal County has over 300,000 registrants. Of those 300,000 registrants, over 175,000 of them are signed up to receive an early ballot by mail. There was I call it a whiplash roller coaster effect over the last couple of years. Yes, go vote in person. Only vote on election day. No, don't vote in early ballot. Now, vote in early ballot. No, now go vote early in person. No, don't vote early in person. I think voters have whiplash. And I think until you either trust us again, hence the reason we created this fabulous facility so you can see how transparent we are with our processes, that we're not gonna get to a place of norming again. So I encourage you, if you don't wanna vote your early ballot, we can take you off the active early voting list or vote your early ballot. And then be a good neighbor and make sure your neighbor has a plan to vote. Because after you get your ballot taken care of and in a drop box, then you can make sure that either they're gonna get an early ballot or you can take them to one of those in-person early voting sites so they can go vote early in person. And if that's not the case, then they wanna vote on election day, you can be a good voter and a good neighbor again and a good Pinal County citizen and make sure you say, hey, did you vote? You missed it? We're gonna go down to our local precinct and you're gonna vote. Any other questions? Yes, sir?
So if I heard this correctly, if your signature check fails, that can be cured. You contact the vote, then you can be cured. If you vote in person on election day at the wrong precinct, that cannot be cured. Is that correct?
So if you vote on your early ballot and it gets dropped in a drop box or a post office and we come in and there's a signature and it's not matching for whatever reason, we're gonna call you to cure it. I'm gonna say, did you vote in early ballot? And if you tell me no, then I have a problem and we're gonna start having a different kind of conversation. If you say yes, then we're gonna ask you some questions to be able to get you to the next level of curing that ballot. On election day, you're going to show identification. So there's that. During in-person early voting, you must show identification to vote in person early. So you've already vetted ID, but you're still gonna sign your affidavit. Because still, if that signature looks different than other signatures, we might wanna snap that, so I'm gonna call you to update your voter record. Because it could have been, 10 years since you voted, folks, so we're gonna, again, wanna keep your voter registration record updated. If you drop off your early ballot late, I still have to give you the ability to cure that. If it's a non-signature, you're dead in the water at 7 p.m.
But if you go to the wrong precinct, you vote, I think you.
So it's a provisional ballot, you would vote then.
Okay, but then if you're at the wrong precinct, you can't cure that. It doesn't count.
Well, no, it would be a live ballot and you've shown identification. So if you're at the wrong precinct, what you're gonna do is we're going to tell you how to get to your right precinct. We're going to give you GPS location sent to your phone. We're gonna give you a map. We're gonna give you every which way. We'll probably even have a rope or drive you there if you need help. We want you to vote in your precinct. And so we're gonna make every means to it. But still, some people will still be like, and I'm never gonna tell somebody they can't vote. They're gonna cast a provisional. Is it gonna count them?
What other kind of things can be cured?
Just the late earlies, just the late earlies. So if you drop it off on election day in one of the brown bags, so there's 3 vessels at a polling location. You've got the official blue ballot drop off or ballot box. You've got the late earlies brown bag, canvas bag, and then you've got the black provisional bag. So those are all vessels and they all have seals. And at the end of the night, we do a ballot inventory, we do an official ballot report. People swear, and then we have bipartisan courier teams who are going to come get those ballots, and they're going to bring them to central tabulation. So the things that can be cured, again, if it's a late early and the signature for some reason doesn't match, we still have a couple of days to cure that after the election.
I got one more.
Okay.
Keep going, Steve.
So,
He's on a roll.
correct me if I believe, like say in Pennsylvania, they don't start counting the early ballots. And I think that's in their law because they don't want someone to show up in person and say, no, I didn't vote absentee or whatever, I'm gonna vote now, then they can pull it out before the counting. So if you're counting early ballot early, what happens if I show up on election day thinking, oh, I haven't voted yet, and someone has turned in an absentee ballot with my name's on it?
No matter what, a voter only has the ability to cast one ballot. So if you voted early, whether it's in person or by mail, we do, it's called receive first and then accept it. Accept it means it's gone to tabulation, and you're able to check your status of your ballot at my.arizona.gov to track your ballot life. Eventually, it'll probably say tabulated. That was the intent of the law going forward. So you're gonna get the ballot and you're gonna see that we received it. If for some reason you're not seeing if your ballot was received or not, and you don't wanna get left in the dark, and you show up on election day, and you vote in person on election day, your voter history is updated. So anybody who has voted and cast an early ballot, when they show up at the polls, you're gonna check your ID, and they're gonna go, Dana, thank you so much, welcome, great to see you. It appears you voted an early ballot and it's already been accepted. And they're gonna go, no, I didn't. And you're gonna say, no, it shows right here on this day that we received an early ballot for you. And you're gonna say, no, I didn't, that must have been somebody else, it wasn't me. Okay, well, this is a bit concerning, hold on, let me call voter registration. We're gonna call voter registration, we're gonna go over how that ballot was received, where it was received at, what date it was received, who was received by, we're gonna go through all of that. And then we're gonna say, yes, we even have the signature, and I can go get the affidavit. The person's gonna go, no, it wasn't me, it wasn't me. I'm gonna say, I am not gonna disenfranchise you, and I will never tell somebody they can't vote. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna have you vote a provisional ballot. But then we're gonna make a plan for you to come back to Election Central, because then we're gonna review that affidavit that was received. Because in the event it wasn't you, then again, we're having a different kind of conversation. If you catch my drift. So.
Without County Sheriff's Office.
Yeah, it might be Finn or the county attorney or one of those people. Because unfortunately, bad things do happen, but there's safeguards to that. So again, all of the voter history is uploaded to those green poll pads. So we know anybody who received and voted an early ballot. And then in the event that you show up on election day, your ability to cast a ballot will still happen. The ability for that ballot to count is different, and that's the provisional safeguard. So that's why we have that in place. The other thing is, you're really excited. You're excited like me. You're excited to vote on November 5th or during the early voting process. And you're like, Dana said the ballots were going out October 9th. It's October 9th. Where's my ballot? Well, we have 4 million people in Arizona. And even though they're going to go out on October 9th, you're probably not going to get them until the Monday after. So I ask people to please pause. Wait until at least Monday before you call. I'm still gonna have somebody on Thursday morning who's going to call me and say, I didn't get my ballot. I'm gonna say, well, if you would just wait a second, so we don't send out another, because again, ballot packets are expensive. They're gonna say, nope, I wanna send it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna cancel that first ballot packet, and then we're gonna send them a second one. And what's gonna happen, no matter what, it's always gonna happen this way, is that they're gonna come, either the same day or, one after the other. So no matter what, they're gonna sign and they're gonna count and they're gonna resubmit that second ballot, and we're gonna take that. So whichever one we get returned first, we're going to accept and cancel the other one, so you're safe. You can only get one early ballot that's gonna be accepted in the system to give you voter history, which is then uploaded to the poll pads for election day. That may have been a little bit confusing. I can go over it again if you need me to. Was that good? Okay. That's where the poll books are really great. Another thing, those tabulation machines, they are never connected to the internet. When CrowdStrike hit, I had to pause the early voting signature verification process, but I didn't have to pause tabulation because tabulation is never connected to the internet. The poll books, they are connected through a SCIUS unit so that they can talk to each other. Because up here in San Valley, where some of my polling locations could have 1,000 people turn out in a day, I need to make sure that if he came in and checked in on this poll pad, he doesn't come back 3 hours later and try to check in on this poll pad. So those poll pads have to talk to each other. Plus, in the event of emergency, I'm able to push messaging to our poll workers to keep them safe and to make sure they're doing their job and are not falling asleep. So I push messaging to them. It doesn't mean that it's connected to the internet or that information is flowing live data. Those are the little things that I like to reassure people with internet stuff.
No, you answered one of the questions I was going to have, but I want to make sure Steve gets all his questions.
Okay, so you have a question now? So about the stuff being connected to the internet.
My first one was how trustworthy are the machines that are tabulating? You just answered that. Is AI a part of any part of this process whatsoever?
Not for now, County.
Good. Thank you.
And here's another thing, we don't have in Pinal County vendors programming your elections. I had the vendors come in, and over the course of a week, they sat down with our team and they taught them how to do it. So it's your people, it's your neighbors, it's the kids, your grandkids probably play soccer with my guys' kids, you know? It's our people who work here, who live here, who vote here, who are administering your elections, who are designing your ballots, who are programming your electionware, and then who are processing your ballots. It's our team. None of that part is outsourced to a vendor. It's all done in-house in Pinal County. And so we also have to go through logic and accuracy testing that's showing that our tabulators are working and actually tabulating what they say. So we have a test that it goes through, we know what those results are, and then we do a hand count audit of it afterwards, and then we show the public everything is on the up and up. Logic and accuracy helps us prove and again reestablish trust with our voters. Internal is tomorrow at 11 o'clock. We're going to tabulate, I don't know, a couple thousand ballots to show you that our machines are working right. And then the Secretary of State will be there next Friday and they will do the same thing to certify our machines. Yes, ma'am.
I had a situation last year, whenever we did the primary thing, where I opened my envelope and it cut through to the next envelope. So how do you fix a damage when you've got an envelope that's supposed to be sealed and inserted and all that?
So we do what we call electric duplication of your ballot. So the chain of custody of your ballot is very important to us. So we're going to have that ballot. They're going to create the anonymity. They're going to see that happened. We're going to tape that sucker so that we can keep your ballot together. And then what they're going to do is if there's any problem with that ballot being able to tabulate, which in that case it won't be able to tabulate, then we'll go to an express vote machine and a bipartisan team will then look at it. They will say, this is this vote, this is this contest, this is this. It goes through an express vote. We serialize your original ballot to match the express vote so that we can then tabulate that. And so your vote is vote for vote.
So we shouldn't take that second on the vote close.
It doesn't matter. I mean, it's not, and sometimes it rips the ballots too. So not a problem.
Okay.
Not a problem at all. Yes, ma'am.
Where are our ballots coming from? Because you said we do everything in-house.
So, okay, that's the only thing we don't do. And 300,000 ballots, that's a little bit hard to mail out. I think my people would be really mad if we were looking at many envelopes. No. So historically, we used a company called K&H. Then for several years or several elections, we used Runbeck here in Phoenix. We came up for review of contracts and customer service quality. Then we decided when they went to bid for the RFP, which is a totally legal process and has to be followed by the law of the state, the K&H came back and they had some new tech, they had some pricing, and their customer service seemed to be on point. They also have this program called Mars. So when you call me and you're like, Dana, I haven't received my ballot and it's October 14th now. I'm like, hold on a second, Janie, hold on. I'm gonna pull you up. I'm gonna pull up the system and I'll be like, okay, you live in Eloy, the Contra Post Office has your ballot. You should receive it probably tomorrow afternoon. I'm able to track that for you for the delivery of your ballot and then track it on the way back through their Mars system. So it's one of the great things. The issue is they bring their ballots, they bring them to Phoenix, and then I push them out from there for the first 175,000. My supplementals will be mailed out of Seattle.
Seattle?
Seattle is where the company is located. Yes. The reason we did that, Runbeck is here in Phoenix. And Runbeck is an amazing company, and I would love to keep Arizona money in Arizona. But we only, even though I'm like, we have 300,000 voters, but to them, we only have 300,000 voters.
What's the name of that company again?
Runbeck and
No, I know
K&H.
Runbeck.
The new one is K&H. K&H. So here's something to know. In the entire United States, there's only about 10 vendors that print ballots and send them out. There's only about 10. When we went out to RFP, only 3 companies apply for RFP. K&H is somebody who we've used in the past, Runback, and then another company out of the East Coast. And, you know, it's a spectrum.
So the day I go, because I'm gonna vote in person.
Uh-huh.
this thing, will I go ballot?
You're gonna have a paper ballot, and actually they're getting delivered tomorrow.
You know what's coming out of Seattle?
Yeah, it would. It gets delivered tomorrow at 3 o'clock. We're all excited. We call it babies on board. No, Pinal County, obviously, and all the state of Arizona, still uses paper ballots. So we'll have what we call counter ballots available for you. We don't use BODs. We don't use tabulation at the polls. We do everything. Central count for tabulation is at the votes building, and any of the 5 locations you go to vote at during in-person early voting, it will be a counter ballot. And
So if I go for early voting at a registrar's office, and I live in a city, but the registrar's office might not be in that city. So how do they know what ballot to give if there's municipal elections?
so we look at propensity of voter turnout. Historically, we look at our redistricting and where people have voted, and then I'm also checking your trends and where you chose to vote over the last time. I track if you voted early in person and where you chose to go, so I'm looking at those numbers. I'm also looking at, like, if you live in Florence, the chance that you're gonna vote in the new votes building is pretty high, so I wanna make sure that Florence, Coolidge, Hilo area, I have ballots for all of those, but no matter what, if you show up to vote early in person at any one of my sites, there's gonna be a ballot there. I'm required to by law. And we've done really good the last 2 elections to not have so much waste.
That's it. Any other questions?
Go ahead.
You're gonna like this one.
She's on a roll. She hasn't gotten it wrong yet.
On your tabulation machines,
Yes.
the software that comes that runs all the tabulations, what kind of testing do you do on it?
So here's one of the great things about the state of
The reason I'm asking
Arizona.
is I'm a software guy.
Okay.
We do a lot of testing.
Absolutely.
There's certain things you gotta do, and when you run it through, it's gotta come out the same way you think it should be.
That's what the logic and accuracy test does.
Right.
And I definitely would encourage you, if you're bored tomorrow, come check it out. It's gonna be really fun. It's at 11:15, and we'll walk you through the process and explain everything that we're doing. But no, first of all, in the state of Arizona, and across the nation, if you're using tabulation equipment to process your ballots, it must come from an EAC certified underwritten laboratory machine that has been certified federally.
But
And then
they
in the
were
state of
having
Arizona,
problems- They were having problems with that. So I'm concerned about the software that comes.
we have the latest and the greatest, and it's certified.
What they,
And then the Secretary of State's office also, anytime you do an upgrade,
I don't trust it.
anytime we do the upgrade, then they have to have certified, we have to go through certification on that too. So not only are our machines certified, by the feds, they're also certified by the state.
So you have people that certify them that are in Pinal County.
Right, and here's the thing, you know, the state doesn't certify everything. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry who walks in and it says here, I've got a tabulator, they don't do that. I think we only have 3 or 4 different voting systems that you can purchase in the state of Arizona. You've got Dominion, you've got ES&S, I think you've got 10X and Unison. Heart isn't certified right now. So we can only purchase from those vendors. And we use ES&S for our tabulators.
I'm pretty sure Pinal County is okay, but I'm worried about some of the other counties, especially like Maricopa.
The same
Because
statutes
when you guys send.
that are my law are the same ones for all of the
I
recording
want to be sure
machines.
that when you send the tabulations out, I know you're accurate in such. When they go out, is there anything else added on when you get to them yet?
No, and that's why we use gateway computers.
Because they
When we
gotta
vote on
put them
results,
together before they can have results. Am I correct?
that's the aggregate, and that's the client server computer that does that. Yeah, and that's part of the closed network that never touches the internet. We take a flash drive, we upload those results, then we go to a gateway computer, which means it comes up onto the internet for a very short period of time. We run our search, we run the software securities and all of that stuff. Then we take that flash drive, we put it in, we upload our election night reporting results to that. we put it on there, then we take that out, that flash drive, so we never cross-contaminate, gets destroyed right there on camera. And then we put all of our pretty little pie graphs, and then we take that sucker down. And then every time we upload it, we do that same process again. And we don't ever take that USB back into the secure area.
So nothing's archived.
What's that?
Nothing is archived.
Absolutely, it's archived in our server. The USBs, absolutely not.
Okay.
Not for that part, not for election night reporting. Of course, our drives have historical data on them, but tabulators don't. Because as soon as you run an election, after the election, you have to go to a zero report for the next election. That's part of the logic and accuracy process. I think we're gonna talk afterwards. I see you have questions about the vendor out of state. So we're gonna talk. We're gonna talk on the raise your hand. I am. Anything else? Oh, shoot, my bad. Hi.
Any other questions? Okay, well, first of all, thank you very much.
You're very
That was fantastic. Your answers were dead on. I want to thank you again for coming. I want to thank Dana for her excellent presentation. One thing, October 23rd, okay, right here, Central Arizona College at 4 p.m. We're having the state come in and do a presentation on senior citizen services provided by the state and the county. So if you're a senior citizen, or you know a senior citizen, or you take care of a senior citizen, you may be interested in coming to that. Again, it is October 23rd. It is here at the Central Arizona College in Santan Valley at 4 p.m. We're having it early because elderly people don't always like to drive at night.
Because we're senior citizens.
I'm sorry? 4 p.m. All right, well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Oh, thank you. No, absolutely. Yes, I always run both.
That's a good question.
Me too.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. That's why you get to put it on YouTube, because you get to go back and talk about it. I know that people have lots of questions, so I want to be able to squeeze
Get it turned
everything in
off?
that I can.
I think so.
Ask your question.
Actually,